baiting MVP into expecting Spirit to give that one up. Interesting. Zach is just going to be banned away. They don't want to deal with that game of cat and mouse, so Spirit can grab the Lee Sin if he wants to, but Caitlyn is available. Thresh is there as well for Tucson if they want it, and Marin's Fiora is going to be available as well.
It's one he's played quite frequently this season, has been banned against him a couple of times, but they don't have a good win rate on him. I don't feel like Afreeca Freecs are strongest when Marin is jumping on the Fioras. Now both sides have flashed the duelist in the top lane, and they just will go for what is a staple first pick this particular season, which of course is that Caitlyn for lane dominance.
Yeah. Of course, Kramer has been mixing it up recently. Deep in his match history, he does have quite a few Caitlyn games, but it's been the Xayah, it's been the Kalista as well, since those champions have made their way into and back into the meta.
You'll be happy
Kramer's
to know
been
that
jumping there.
Spirit has been jumping on the Zac and solo queue. He's 0-3 in the last week, so...
Oh, elastically slingshotting his way into solo queue, you might say.
I mean, slingshotting MVP into having to ban it against him, which
yeah,
they probably don't want to do. Didn't take the first pick Lee Sin on the side of Afreeca, even though Spirit has been performing on that pick. MVP play around with drafting it, but we'll just go for the very solid bot lane of Varus and Tahm Kench. So happy to leave open the Lee Sin for Spirit if he wants it. Both sides have been flashing picks, so a lot of mind games already in this draft.
Does leave sort of Gragas as that next tier of jungler, and we'll see whether Marin is going to opt into it. His Gragas actually looks fantastic, going for solo kills quite often. Grabs himself at least flashes towards the top side of the map, so we might see him pick that one away from Beyond and attack that champion pool in the jungle.
Renekton and Gragas are probably the big top laners that are available for the side of Marin in particular. Renekton has been a big pick so far this week, so wouldn't be surprising to see Afreeca take it even as early as now, but they're going to stick with the Gragas potentially because it's quite strong against Tahm Kench in particular. You can just launch the Tahm Kench in your team and remove some of the Devour options that are there with most CC initiation.
Does force Beyond to pick something like a Kha'Zix or back to that 0% win rate Rek'Sai.
It's been a hot pick this week, you have to mention, so we'll wait
to
the last second. It won't be selected, but we have seen quite a lot of Rek'Sai, even on 7-11, before some of the tweaks and buffs come through in future patches. But Beyond will just jump on a much more standard Kha'Zix.
Yeah, it was, of course, the last jungler that he played. They're up against Longzhu.
So support and mid lane are what Afreeca needs to draft in this next round. So we'll see what MVP wants to attack. And for now, it's actually going to be Tucson's champion pool, interestingly. Braum's been a big pick for him, so given how much of a contested pick that is and how comfortable it is drafting it into Tahm Kench, it's one to consider.
What I want to see MVP do is pick Sion here and then give it to Max and make ADD play Tahm Kench on the top side of the map. That would be the MVP that we know and love, you know, the MVP that was winning games.
Yeah, if this was spring season, they'd do that and win.
Yeah.
I shudder to think what it looks like if they do that this season, given their ill fortunes, Atlas.
You don't need to shudder. I mean, you can just watch the VODs, Papa Smithy.
But the sad thing is it wasn't them being crazy that got them to lose games. They're playing standard and losing. So
yeah,
it hasn't necessarily been the fireworks that really greeted the matches from Afreeca Freecs in the spring season. Clear has been one of the comfortable blind picks for the side of Afreeca Freecs, so it probably will be the top lane now if they're going to ban Talia in that spot.
Well, Karma is going to be the final ban, as Ian, the only 2 games that MVP have won are him on Karma, so Afreeca Freecs can be like, well, the rest of his picks is 0% win rate. We've got this. It's impossible to lose now.
Uncharted territory for the sample size, at least.
My favorite time, Pop Smithy.
Victor time?
No. Small sample size time.
Ah.
Yeah. Victor time, not so fun. That is called wave clear.
Has worked for other mid laners who have been defaulting to the Victor, but it does leave open a lot of options for Kuro. One of his old favorites, the Cassiopeia, is going to take the duelist approach to mid lane. Definitely can be wave cleared on if you just allow it to be a free lane for the Victor, but also have that solo kill pressure in the early game. And like I mentioned, Tucson has been defaulting to Braum, so will be the very standard draft. Caitlyn Braum, very strong duo lane.
Extraordinarily standard draft out of the Afreeca Freecs, but makes a whole lot of sense. You mentioned the Braum into the Tahm Kench. Just has been what has raised his popularity.
Will ADD jump on the Sejuani? We haven't seen since the first week. Gained a lot of value Jarvan is top corner, and they'll actually go with Camille finally. We've seen a little bit of Camille. SKT have been a team messing around with Camille top lane. They lock it in, so wanting to split push on the Gragas and potentially acquire a lot of TP pressure. Not an easy matchup early for the Camille at all. A lot of interrupts to the hook shot coming through on the side of Gragas. It can just ult Camille out of the Hextech ultimatum. So, bit of a gambit to go for the Camille in this particular spot, given that Gragas was always one of the best at dealing with this particular champion.
Not to mention Gragas plus Lee Sin as well. I mean, this Camille could find herself on the other side of the lane in an instant after a Dragon Rage and an explosive cast. We've seen Spirit and Marin work incredibly well together in the past. Could be a dangerous situation for ADD, but he's thrown the gauntlet, and if ever you're going to make a risky decision, it is when you've lost, what, 5 matches in a row? When you're on a 10-game losing streak, you got nothing to lose, MVP. You need to start trying to make yourself look good heading towards Rift Rivals, and bloody well better start now.
Difficult ask on the blue side against the Afreeca Freecs, but MVP, you're completely right, Atlas. Good draft from them, but actually turning it into a coherent mid-game, getting through a series would be a big step forward for Afreeca, for MVP, and they need to start now.
Well, we'll see whether they can make it work. The split push has not necessarily been that successful recently, but if MVP want to turn it around, they have to turn it around with whatever they got, and we'll see whether they can. Damn, there are some passionate MVP fans in the audience, Papa Smithy. Excited to see whether their energy is actually going to find the players here, because they need it so, so much. Already Spirit wandering over a ward. But nothing to be really gained early on, as we're just going to scope each other out.
And it's definitely looking for proof of life from MVP.
Oh, yeah.
Been absent for the past 10 games in a row. That's a very nice Marin drawing.
That's a very pretty Marin.
But the MVP fans here too. A bit bashful. You know, they can't be too boastful after 10 losses in a row. But
that's true.
Still
I mean,
here.
everyone decides to hide their faces, but you can understand the MVP fans a little bit more than others.
Not a hype train you want to jump on right now.
No, that is a fiery hype train, Papa Smithy. That one is careening off the cliff.
Late ward coming through from ADD means they have information on the pathing of Spirit. Now he's starting bot lane. So there's a bit of information that's been garnered.
Well, Marin spotted by that ward before it died. We're not going to go too aggressive, as it is going to be a blue side start here for MVP. ADD just pops down and checks to see whether that red buff has been taken, but late ward placed that red buff pit. Try and give Freecs as much information as possible. Kuro being frustrating on the Snake Lady against Ian, who has absolutely no wave clear just yet. Level 1 has taken Q first, so transfer power not really going to be helping him out so much.
The wards on both big buffs mean that both teams have a pretty good idea of jungle pathing. It's going to be interesting to see what develops. So a lot of invades in our first series of the day as Ambition really shutting down Bless and the BBQ Olivers in the early game, but for now at least it's just been 2 big camp clears for both junglers.
Yep, bit of dominance here in the mid lane from Kuro, which is understandable at level 1. Ian should be able to pick up most of this farm underneath his turret, but we always talk about pushing lanes. Successfully done so at the beginning here for Afreeca Freecs, at least in the mid lane and towards the top side of the map as well.
Top side's going to be an easy pushing lane win. The side of Afreeca. Pre-1 item. Cassiopeia will do very, very well in mid lane, but we all know about that Hex Core upgrade from the Victor, and bot lane should be pretty damn comfortable as well. Afreeca do have a lot of latitude to push in and potentially have Spirit contest the enemy jungle. Spirit doing well on the Lee Sin this season, 3-1, so even though we don't really think of him as a top-tier Lee Sin for our league in 2017, has been performing well so far in summer season.
Well, Beyond's looking for a gank. Hookshot not going to find Marin. ADD sheepishly walks back towards his turret. Nothing's going to be gained. Spirit wanders through. says hi, and we'll continue on his path.
And when he sees the jungle on the top side, he knows there's no camps to be able to contest in the red side jungle. So just saving time, going for that power farm onto his Raptors. Oh, he's forced to go through all his corrupting potion charges. So nice accuracy from Ian. That's actually curb some of the lane pressure that Kuro had in the mid lane.
Yeah, handy. Spirit just clearing things out. So all's quiet. Summoner's Rift at the moment. So push back here from Maha and Max on the bottom side of the map means that at least that wave equalized for a moment. But once again, Freecs push it forward. VP probably happy to farm underneath the turret as best they can, and they do manage to win at least the trade. But it's more PvE for the old Caitlyn.
Very interesting draft to evaluate in terms of who wins as the game goes on.
Yeah.
Definitely first instinct is that Camille will at least have the win of the Swift Push War, even if Gragas can answer her, and there's not much kill pressure onto Gragas coming through from the Camille. Once he starts to get some tank items together. Victor a bit more reliable in team fights, but so would Caitlyn be as well. So it's very hard to evaluate what late game team fights go. My first instinct is to be a slight advantage to the side of Afreeca, but definitely not a massive one. So early game, right, as you say, everyone is kind of testing each other out. That means we don't have really any read on where this game will go. After all the craziness of Series 1, I'm open-minded to a lot of different opportunities.
Like being able to tell people about your trip to Japan, possibly, Papa Smithy?
Maybe.
Ho, ho, ho.
So far, that's incited action across the Rift, so we have to
Yeah, it seems like
bide our time.
everyone's excited about hearing about it, even the players.
Well, they really don't want to hear it.
Yeah, something like that. Or they want to hear about it, but they want to be the first ones after the game. So they're like, well, we're not going to let you talk about it on broadcast because it's so exciting. You need to be the first. But Spirit will back away. We do just have normalcy once again.
I mean, Japan was cool. Was a sort of place where I built it up a lot because I was, again, one of those kids who went to the arcades a lot. I'm old, so arcades were still around when I was young. I know, I get that most of the generations listening to us probably came in around Xbox 360 days and thus didn't need to go to arcades to get sick graphics and multiplayer. But
are you saying that Super Nintendo wasn't sick graphics? 'Cause
You
that
know-
was enough for me, Papa Smithy.
sure, but I was at the arcade playing, you know, Street Fighter Alpha 3 and stuff like that.
Man.
Super Nintendo was a bit wanting in that particular area. But, you know, from the video game side of things, I went to Akihabara, I saw the vintage games in the arcades. I saw Japanese businessmen smoking in arcades, playing Street Fighter. I got the full experience.
That's the dream.
It's strange how that is, but yes, it was a dream. It was definitely quintessentially Japan. You will not mistake Tokyo for any other city.
So you managed to find some good ramen then?
Oh. So I had this weird realization where there may be too much ramen in Japan. Because I don't know about you, but when I go to a new place, I get the lay of the land, and I look for the things I really enjoy, which honestly are arcades and ramen. Like,
yeah.
Both of those are fantastic, and they're everywhere.
So maybe the idea is to move to Japan
My cup,
and be happy forever.
my cup was runneth over, that's for sure.
All right, well, now know what to get you for your birthday.
Japan?
Yeah, I'll get you Japan.
OGN's paying you really well. Maybe I should renegotiate.
Yeah, I think you need to. You can't afford Japan? What's happening, Papa Smithy? Much more experienced than I am.
The food part, you know, the food was great, for sure. It was only 36 hours, though, so need another trip to start hitting some of the cultural locations and stuff. This was definitely the video game pilgrimage this time around.
Well, I haven't been yet, Papa Smithy, so I'm looking to jump in on the next round. Hopefully we can go for more than 36 hours. That sounds like a win.
Yeah, there's big gaps in this League of Legends calendar. Just jump in there when we have time off in December. November? November sounds like a month.
Yeah.
Memory last year was what? IEM in November and nothing else? And with no IEMs this
All-Star,
year?
man.
That was December.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, what
First week
about
of December.
IWC All-Star?
That's true.
Yeah. Come on, man. Well, it's not IWC anymore, of course.
I don't even know. I mean, has anything been...
The other All-Star?
I don't think anything's even been announced about All-Star this year, so I don't know if it's going to be separate events or 2-week All-Star. I literally have no idea.
We could wildly speculate while nothing happens in this game.
And then everyone be like, well, they must know. And like, no, we don't
we
get told
actually
anything.
just know nothing. Yeah.
think Rift Rivals is on in 2 weeks, maybe?
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss, Papa Smithy. I just want to be surprised by the esports. That's how I do it. Beyond continuing to farm things up. About 10 creeps ahead of Spirit, but, I mean, who knows? Could be just all Krogs. Kuro and Ian still smacking on one another. The blue buffs successfully given over to mid laners, and when you're talking about the fact that a blue buff has gone to a mid laner, you know there is absolutely nothing happening. MVP also have more wards on the map than Afreeca do right now, Papa Smithy. I think I've exhausted almost everything that there is of interest to talk about. Max is in the river, and he's a catfish, which makes a lot of sense. So at least everything's fine and good. And now Spirit is going to try and make something exciting, and ADD is going to walk right into it. Nice dodge of the cask with the ultimatum. He's not going to be able to get anything done. And Marin, why does he just love taking turret shots, Papa Smithy?
You know, that was a very long monologue that does symbolize the fact that not much is happening this game. He's sticking around top, but Kha'Zix intelligently has pathed the top side as well. We've seen this go wrong many times already today.
And even worse by Afreeca recently. The body slam is going to mean that he at least takes another turret shot. His favorite thing. Kuro's going to make his way up, join the party.
Spotted an award, though. Ghost already popped by Ian, so potential preview of a 3v3 information advantage for MVP.
Yeah, massive is Spirit. He's going to flash. He's going to do everything to get out. Oh, fantastic kick. And the Chaos Storm can't catch up. Oh, the flash. The auto attack isn't going to be enough. No, it's no. There it is. The death ray from Ian. And first blood goes to MVP.
Somehow MVP had the better vision in their red side and also the advanced vision we noted earlier. Sitting in a ward with Spirit, it took everything from MVP to secure the kill, but finally, first flare point of the game, 10 minutes in. Spirit trying to play around top side, but being so obvious in their setups were Freecs well punished by MVP. They invested a lot, Ian ghosted early to try to be there, and he was the difference. Both summoners, but they pick up first blood on the victor.
Yeah, fantastic play from MVP, and you mentioned the vision, and I feel like that was what did almost all of it. Kuro. Oh, some Twin Fangs. Transfer power not going to be enough to save Ian. Losing, what, a third of his health. One small combo from Kuro, so dangerous stuff for the Victor. But should be able to just wave clear. Got a couple of upgrades on that Hex Core already. So a bit of extra movement speed on that Q and that double tap on the old Death Ray to clear out all of these minions pretty quickly.
Pretty greedy choice, going for second Hex Core upgrade instead of going for something like a non-magic mantle and to, at some point, a Banshee Veil or Merc Treads. There is 2 magic damage threats on the side of Afreeca if you include Gragas, so
yeah.
Going for the Q basically says that he's going to get his dancing shoes on and do some side steps, but definitely an opportunity for Kuro to potentially pick up a solo kill if things really line up for the Cassiopeia.
And you can see that still Kuro is in full control of that lane. About 20 CS in the lead, 18 if you want to go into semantics.
He's in control, and then Camille is definitely offering control to Marin. It's one thing about getting pushed in and losing the early trades before your items are there, and there's another where you go Cull and the Sapphire Crystal on the way to a Sheen. So a lot of the gold there is for delayed power. Right now, pretty low power on the side of Camille, so she has to cede lane control. She's just losing trades straight up.
Oh, wow. Did not know that that was how that interaction worked. So hookshot
Marin's
can't be broken.
thinking about this. He really wants to all in.
Well, there's the ultimatum. Gets the body slam onto ADD. Oh, dangerous. And he's so tanky. This is why Marin needs to play tanks on the top side of the map, because he loves taking turret shots so much in the early game. He needs as much tankiness as possible. Glacial Shroud is there, Ninja Tabi as well, and that triple Doran stack. He's a very happy fat man underneath this turret and gets himself teleport as well. So teleport advantage for Afreeca Freecs. MVP have to be careful where they make moves around the map.
Especially when a champion like Gragas with flash up can cause so much disruption. The moment that the cask is back up, and he will have to be very vigilant. He's also almost lost his turret straight up as well, and his trades are only going one way, and that's towards the side of Marin, so a lot of headaches for MVP to navigate around. Jan may have got kill involvement earlier, but he's been in pure farm mode otherwise.
We have to say goodbye to this build as well, Papa Smithy, with the uniqueness of a lot of the Doran's Ring coming up. I'm a little bit sad personally. I like I like the fact that people like it and they put 3 rings on it, you know?
I like the reference.
Beyonce would be proud.
Probably going to change a lot, honestly. People probably don't appreciate the fact that, you know, Double Doran's been standing on mid laners for a very long time.
Yeah.
That extra, 60 to 80 HP from going for things like Doran's ring have made you tankier, and it feels like your options against specifically assassins are going down, where sacking 3 Doran's rings, the budget rod of ages as we've called it for a long time, meant that you had health in tricky matchups. You didn't have to go fully into lane countering items like the Seeker's Arm Guard or No Magic Mantles and Negatron Cloak. With Negatron Cloak, not something you buy anymore. With Triple Doran's gone, I feel like Assassin's going to get a lot stronger in future patches because there's less easy to buy items that let you get through early laning phases. And level 6 for a Zed suddenly looks even better than it was before.
Maybe we'll see more Rod of Ages purchases as well. If you just need the extra health, it feels like Catalyst is a good way to get there. And already Kuro, but of course he is Cassiopeia. So you're going to be building that just anyway. I don't know, I'm excited to see what does change for the meta here, especially in the LCK. Because things have certainly stabilized. 7.10 and 11 have not necessarily been too much of a difference.
7-10 with the Rift Herald coming in, everything was obviously big, but 7-11, it's basically the same patch all over again.
Yeah, that's what I sort of mean. So it feels like since the start of 7-10, we just haven't seen much of a change.
People are wondering why we're still on 7-11 this week with EULCS and ALCS jumping on to 7-12. Because the Korean client patches Wednesday, Thursday usually, and because a match week has already started, it's always that extra week. So we end up being a few days behind other regions. Korea used to be ahead, but then the patching day changed, and thus we end up being behind.
Which I feel benefits SKT. Because they get to watch what people are doing, and we know that they are just the download team, you know? Even able to watch other regions, certainly able to help them out.
You see the power of the Caitlyn in the 2v2. They just straight up 2v2 took down bot lane turret with no jungle intervention in that lane. And remember, we previously saw how low top lane turret is, so whether that's going to be a lane swap initiated by Afreeca right now, or just Kuro coming up, they want to target down his top lane as well.
Yeah, that's another ultimate coming out from Mara, and this time Hookshot did not answer it. Slow still here.
Oh,
there's
baby.
the flash. Petrifying gaze, and Kuro now has no answer to Beyond, but Spirit, he's going to be here. He's got it. The kick into the wall for the semi-stun, and that's going to be Beyond taken down as well. So 2 swift ones for Afreeca, and now complete map control and a guaranteed Rift Herald. Feels very good for them.
So clean that Kramer had to abandon walking top lane because he knows that Gragas will just take down that turret solo as the Rift Herald has been started. Afreeca Freecs win everything in 2 minutes after a super passive first 10 minutes. They're going to walk up. They could just invest more people top lane. This game's already falling apart for MVP.
Yeah, and could this... Oh, I thought that maybe Kuro had have just ran that into the mid lane. Used the Rift Herald immediately before Ian could get back, but was able to get back in time, so that timing just not quite there for the Snowball Rift Herald. Out of turret take in the mid.
Haven't been able to get much damage onto the mid lane turret, so probably will require the top lane going down, then a setup around mid lane before they can get the expected result, which is the mid lane turret for that Rift Herald. About, a minute and a half, 2 minutes to set up before they are going to feel pressured to put it down.
This has been the dream Caitlyn game for Kramer.
Nothing happens, and she just uses her range to get obnoxious CS leads and turrets.
Yep. No jungle trouble at all. Not even their own jungler coming down, so that Kramer couldn't just, keep farming. Because that's frustrating, You might miss a cannon creep if there's someone trying to gank your lane. Don't want that. He's already been able to take down 2 turrets, as we were talking about it. It's just feeling pretty good. Static Shift done. BF sword there as well. Abyssal Voyage. Can be yelled at. Kuro obviously understanding that snakes don't like catfish very much.
Didn't get anything else. Didn't have anyone in his belly, which kind of surprised me. But we saw Maha farming in top lane, so shouldn't have been too big a surprise. Another shopping trip for the duo lane that have a build built for only one thing, which is pushing. Pickaxe towards the... So just a Zeal picked up, actually. It's just working towards a second Zeal item before they even bother to look at an Infinity Edge. Bring back an old build, BF Sword, double Zeal item.
Yeah.
Been a
Feels
while
like
since
Tristana.
we had what, one patch where Zeal and Rapid Fire Cannon had the original stacking interaction, which was very big, and now just because it prioritizes the best interaction, is once again become a very standard build.
I feel like you still get both of the interactions, don't you? So it does extra range and it spreads damage, but it doesn't do extra damage for both procs. As now the siege is on in the mid lane. The Rift Herald has been put down as well. Should mean that this outer turret falls in favor of Afreeca Freecs. Kramer, massive range. The Rift Herald now going to be dealt with, but I'd call it a success for Papa Smithy. Not bad at all.
It's gone as expected for Afreeca, as ADD caught again.
Yeah, ultimatum is going to go down. Max is going to turn up, gets the Devour, and tries to turn this one around. Kuro has been exhausted, but that wears off, and ADD has to get the hell out of there. Oh, Ian does use the cleanse to get out of the Petrifying Gaze, but they've lost so much health, and the Chaos Storm is going to be enough to dissuade Afreeca Freecs. Cloud Drake going to be up relatively soon, but Afreeca did take the Ocean Drake relatively recently. So nothing to really fight over.
It's just Afreeca inching forward. All three outer turrets down, 3-0 in turret score. The wards are going to start pushing forward as expected. And for now, Beyond can solo down his red buff and pick up jungle camps. But it feels like even that is going to be on a pretty limited timer here for the side of MVP. Have been well snowboard on when it comes to early game movements, 4,000 gold. But what we can see really is the map pressure where Afreeca can push 3 lanes and then there's not many options left for MVP. Is, well, they tried to collapse on Marin, but for once he wasn't overextended.
Yep. He's just going to try and back in the middle of the lane, but at least Max's presence stops that. Slight tempo advantage theoretically gained for MVP, but whether they can capitalize is another question as Kramer clears out this wave extraordinarily fast with the static Shiv proc after he shoots Maha in the head with it.
There's a control ward on Baron. Caitlyn and Cassiopeia can deal with Baron very, very quickly, so
yeah.
MVP for once are being a little bit more conscious around Baron. It's been one of their big weaknesses this season is 20-minute to 25-minute Barons, where they have basically had the game lost in an instant.
Oh man, and Kuro is so accelerated. Already at the 2-item power spike, will have that tier stacked up extraordinarily fast, just given the timing that he was able to pick that one up. Talking about accelerated, Kramer does have that rapid fire cannon completed as well as the completed boots. And he's got so much farm for this stage of the game, it is ridiculous. 10 CS ahead of the clock. That is only going to extend by the looks of things.
It's teleport.
The teleport. Yeah, Marin wants to make something happen.
Oh,
fantastic knockups from Tucson. And that is going to be the first pick onto the Victor. Ian just obliterated. Thankfully, the gravity field went down first, so Afreeca Freecs was staved off the rest of the team. But with one pick, can they just go straight to the Baron?
They're certainly going to head there, but Beyond's first thought was to move towards his jungle on the red side. Afreeca realized they'd taken their time. They look for another pick. Marin has flash, no cask of course. They'll just clear a ward, clear some minions, potentially look for the turn, but they're going to stop Baron finally.
Yep, so 4 of them are going to be in this pit. Beyond is going to turn up, but remember, Dragon Rage still up here for Spirit. Can just kick him away, and look at how much damage this Baron is taking. Oh, there's the flash, the engage coming out of Kuro. There's now Spirit, he's going to take down the Baron. Success for Afreeca Freecs. The man advantage, Ian nowhere to be seen. Easily able to take that one down. They extend this lead to 6,000 gold in game 1.
Yeah, well thought out. Kuro had to invest his flash for the zone, but between that and the ultimatum going down from the other side, space was implied. No one was going to get close enough to contest the Baron, so clean Baron setup for Afreeca Freecs, even with the pressure of 4 members of MVP.
It's nicely done. Kramer almost has his Infinity Edge done. Seraph's Embrace almost there for Kuro as well, because I assume that tier is already done stacked up. The amount of Twin Fangs you throw out means that it's basically permanently charging. If it's not stacked yet, it certainly is now, as you can see how many spells he's throwing at this dragon.
You know, if Spirit hadn't died, this could have been our 3rd perfect game of the season for Afreeca Freecs, Atlas.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going that way. With all of these Baron minions. Oh, it's getting very, very scary. Feel like ADD might be able to sort out this top lane outer turret. But nope. It's just going to be this inner falling down. Minion wave. Center of the map at the moment in the mid lane. But ADD can't go up against Marin, who is still winning the split push battle. It's not necessarily what you expect when you've got ADD sitting on a Trinity Force as well as his Tiamat. But this is a Gragas with 2 items and a hell of a lot of rings.
Yeah, the problem for ADD is he needs item parity or a bit of snowball. Maybe at 6 items he'll actually be able to do damage to the Gragas and sustain himself, but probably never going to happen. And at an item disadvantage, Gragas always fought one of the best of the top lane tanks versus that Camille. Second inner turret goes down. Freecs continue to rotate mercilessly around MVP.
Yeah. Vision advantage for MVP here towards the top side, but I just don't think it's going to mean anything against the huge gold and item lead that Afreeca have set up for themselves. Tucson just making himself a frontline. Marin barges himself forward. It's all too easy for Afreeca to claim the last remaining inner turret and a 10,000 gold lead. Oh, 9,000 gold lead. I was exaggerating slightly, but it certainly feels like 10k at this stage again.
Yeah, pretty effortless stuff from Afreeca. All they need to do now is break the base. There's the big shield up. They want to try and get it now.
Well,
no one's contesting Kramer.
Yeah, Kramer just standing behind Tucson as he likes, and that is going to be base broken. 10,000 gold lead that I was talking about is being crept up on as Marin looking for this top inhibitor turret. They're an unstoppable force at the moment. The Afreeca Freecs. Ult comes down. Gravity field is going to mean that Tucson falls, but beyond, Mages follow him. Spirit, an unlikely hold on his resonating strike, and that means that Beyond does escape. Spirit also isn't going to die.
They got the primary objective. They didn't need to be greedy and try and take more. They can back away, steal a red buff, go and spend the gold they're sitting on. Infinity Edge going to be completed. The side of Kramer, and ADD's not ready to jump on him, kill him. Barring there being a Hextech ultimatum and a full multiple tick Chaos Storm, you just really don't see the Caitlyn dying, and that would also, of course, be ignoring all the damage coming through from Cassiopeia and even the top laner and jungler on the side of Afreeca. So right now it feels like we've reached that point that happens so often with MVP games where they're no longer in touching distance. It's not like they've made grand mistakes this game. In fact, they had the great collapse around the top side to pick up first blood. But it's kind of been a training simulator for the second half where Afreeca have done the right thing and MVP really haven't had an answer at the 3rd, 4th, 5th time of asking, and by now, it's too late.
Yeah. It just feels like the definition of a snowball as well, Papa Smithy, with those couple of kills that they were able to pick up, straight into the Rift Herald, straight into the top lane outer turret falling down. Kramer and Tucson were so far ahead in the bottom lane that they were already able to get that global advantage with that outer turret falling down early. Kramer did take some death ray damage there, but he's got himself a Vampiric Scepter now, as well as that Infinity Edge, so he's doing a lot of damage. So the lifesteal's working out very, very well. Ult does come in, but Tucson pretty happy as there's the flash body slam. Ian does have to flash away. Good devour from Max is going to save his mid laner. MVP lived to fight another day, but this inhibitor should be falling with the extra range that Kramer does have. Trap's helping him out there as well as the hookshot gets ADD out to safety. Afreeca, it just feels like a matter of time.
They can't pull the trigger in the way they want MVP. One ultimate to being down. When you're this far down in gold, you need everything to get just a single pick, so they back away. And to your previous point, I think the bot lane winning as hard as it did 2v2 was the reason that Afreeca could win this game. The first time we saw bot lane, it felt like it was Kramer just picking up first brick in the bot lane by taking the turret. Largely were focused around all the skirmishing in the top side. Meanwhile, even with something like the Varus with the great wave clear, non-committal wave clear in the bot lane, wasn't to be enough. Maha got pushed in significantly. There was no jungle pressure from Beyond on the bottom side, and they rotated the Caitlyn around as they were winning the skirmishes top, and that was definitely the 1+1 = 2, and the 2 is basically this massive lead that looks unassailable for Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah. 10,000 that I mentioned before is so, so close. But 28 minutes into the game, it's pretty ridiculous. Tucson going to be standing behind the rest of his teammates and is going to survive as Kramer just tanks up a Chaos Storm for the fun of it by the looks. These super creeps are going to be heading in soon. Marin super tanky, able to deal with minion waves. Maha has gone for the late game scaling build. See whether they can turtle this one out, but MVP running out of answers.
Oh,
There's
boy.
the flash petrifying gaze. They are going to catch Ian. who's just going to get obliterated in a couple of spells. Grey Health not going to do anything for Max, who's going to die. The tower falls to Kramer, who's getting the auto attacks he needs. And Afreeca Freecs lose nothing, and they will take down the final inhibitor. Pre-30 minutes, this has been a dominating performance. If you've ever wondered why Caitlyn is often in the ban list first time around, this is certainly an example of why that is. As there's the kick flash, that's going to be Maha falling down. Beyond is going to get revenge, but that's going to be quickly answered. And the game is going to most definitely follow. Nexus turrets fall, and Afreeca Freecs, in their first game strategy that they often manage to employ, it is going to be the victory, and a very convincing one at that.
It may not be flawless, Atlas, but you add the side of MVP to other teams that have lost to Afreeca Freecs in Game 1. SKT have lost to Afreeca Freecs in Game 1. KT, perfect gamed. A lot of teams have fallen down to Afreeca in Game 1, and it looked like another one of those games where they were smart, they were controlled, made one mistake that gave up first blood, but after that, rebounded with lots of smart decisions. Kramer and Tucson dominating Maha and Max in the bot lane was what this particular win was built around. So much of the action actually happened off screen as they pushed in relentlessly, took the turret straight up in a 2v2, and MVP never looked like they knew how to get back in, and suddenly, that loss streak we've talked about, Atlas, it's hit 11.
It most certainly has, and it's real scary for MVP, but if they are going to win a game, it is going to be Game 2. It was never going to be Game 1,